Do you desire to turn your passion into income? Connect with other creative souls who also dance to the beat of their own drum? I'm Marie-Nicole, and I'm devoted to combining beauty, uniqueness, and connection in everyday living experiences. As a creative professional and Dharma coach, I help people connect to the truth of who they are and facilitate them in embodying their uniqueness. It is my hope in this podcast that I inspire you to live your life on your terms and earn your income through being uniquely you. After all, it's the unique thread that we each contribute to the collective tapestry that creates the whole. It's so nice to be back for season 2 of Business to Your Own Beat. Thank you for joining me again after my little wintering period. There was so much value in taking time to go inwards, to deeply reflect and connect back to my inner knowing. It's easy to fall into the trap of just going and pushing through and powering on, especially when you work for yourself and you know that no work can mean no income. But it's also extremely important as a soul trader in particular to allow yourself time to rest and rejuvenate. Reassess and reignite the flame, especially when your energy levels start to run low and you find yourself wondering if what you're doing is even making a difference to anyone else out there. I'm a big believer in the fact that we all have our own unique thread to contribute to the collective tapestry, but believing in what you're offering is the spark that ignites the flame, that fuels you to keep going. And then when that starts to dim, it's a sign to stop and reassess and reconnect, even if not for long, which is exactly what I have been doing over the last few weeks. This last year and a bit has been filled with a massive transition experience for me, going from a family of 4 maintaining a small acreage and a business in our local town to then the end of my 24-year marriage. My eldest son moving out of home because of his work, and then my youngest son and I being left here with all of the responsibilities of maintaining our property and then taking on the massive job of closing my magical commercial space and setting up my home-based workshop in one of the sheds at the back of the house in a village outside of town. After all that, we had to say goodbye to our much-loved 4-wheel drive, borrowing cars from treasured friends while we sorted out a more permanent arrangement, not being in a position right now to buy a car that meets our lifestyle needs, but also not being able to function effectively without a car, living out of town especially, let alone going through winter without a vehicle that we could source and cut wood for our fireplace. So add to all that the identity shifts that then took place throughout this last year and a bit, going from married most of my adult life to suddenly single, being owner of a prominent shop in our region to no longer owning a shop, transitioning to operating from home without a physical space that's a centre of my business offering, which was a central component of my business model. Being an active contributor to our local business chamber as a committee member to stepping down from that position as I navigated my way through all of these life changes taking place around me at once, spending more and more days alone at home after spending majority of my days in amongst my community. While I still worked alone a lot of the time in town, I crossed paths with numerous community members regularly and felt very much connected to the community. But closing the space, now living and working out of town, I suddenly felt displaced and disconnected, more than I'd ever felt before. It's no wonder by August I was starting to feel my energy levels deplete, and my mind was screaming out for the opportunity to switch off and not have to think about anything. While I did not spend the last month thinking about nothing at all, it was nice to reduce the amount of things I needed to think about on a daily basis and to simplify life, at least for a few weeks. Throughout that time, I did, however, do a lot of thinking of the reflective kind and reassessed my business model and offerings and even business and podcast names. If you listened to the last episode of Season 1, you may recall I mentioned quite briefly that I felt a name change coming through, but I needed to let that idea incubate a little more before sharing any details. Well, after really diving deep into my psyche, trying to understand why I had this desire to change my business and podcast names, I couldn't quite come to a decision on whether or not that was really a good idea, and even why I was contemplating it. Then one day I suddenly realised the name change had nothing to do with the work I did in the world, but everything to do with my personal name. I had been carrying a last name for 25 years. That was not my family name, and now it did not even fit my identity. In truth, I'm not sure it ever really did fit my identity. When I got married back in 1998, I didn't actually want to change my last name. But because of the fuss that was caused amongst family and all their expectations around that, I decided to keep the peace and change it to my husband's family name. Last year when my husband left, the boys asked if I was going to go back to Meunier, which is my maiden name. At the time I said no. I have all of my qualifications in my married name, and it would be such a big administrative task to change everything back to Meunier. So I thought I would just live with it. Funny how things turn out. If I had stood for what I believed 25 years ago, I would not be caught up in this dilemma right now. Now, I'm not one to live in regret, and I have absolutely no regrets about getting married, co-creating two beautiful boys who have developed into the most beautiful young men. But I must say, if there's one thing I regret in my life, that is changing my last name. Over the last 16 months, as I've been letting go of previous identities and the one identity that I thought I could just live with, being my last name, it started to haunt me. And every time I had to fill in a form or sign my name or log into something, I would see the name Roberts and think, is this feeling less and less in alignment with who I am? So I decided to keep my podcast and business names because they are still very much in alignment with what I do. But now I'm going through the mammoth task of changing my personal last name. A lot of thought went into selecting a business and podcast name, as I believe it's important to capture the essence of the offerings in the names, so potential customers and contributors get a sense of what the business or podcast stands for. Not just what it does, but it also needs to capture the feel of the offerings. So I guess our personal name should be no different. A while back, I started to introduce myself and sign off as simply Marie-Nicole. It was just a lot less of a mouthful than Marie-Nicole Roberts. And that name did not roll off the tongue as easily as Marie-Nicole Meunier. So now with all this letting go taking place, I think it's only fitting that I let go of that last name that was connected to my previous identity too, and return back to my essence. Even though it's a name that's difficult to pronounce, when people finally understand how to say it, they say it like they're singing a song, because it's much more melodic. And since my new mission in life is to create more harmony, then having a harmonious name is all the more fitting, wouldn't you say? So on that note, I will end off episode 1 of season 2 saying thank you to you for joining me on this journey of ebbs and flows, highs and lows, as I find my new rhythm and continue to do business to my own beat. I hope you take inspiration from the story shared through this podcast, and I look forward to continuing to inspire and ignite in you the desire to do business to your own beat too. Before you head off, I would like to share with you a little information about a new offering I've created based on the rhythm of the lunar cycle, where we work through that together alongside of each other. This is a tweaked version of the self-guided La Luna Living workshop I offer online, and I used to offer an in-person workshop, but that was only a one-sitting event. This is going to be different, so stick around for part 2 of this podcast to find out more. How would you like to create more ease and flow in your days, weeks, months? Connect with your natural rhythm, or create one by connecting to the rhythm of the moon's lunar cycle, which can correlate to your own personal cycle once you tune into it. You'll be surprised to discover how much you can do and achieve while even creating time for rest and restoration with less effort and struggle. You don't have to do this alone. You can find your flow in the company of other lunar cycle enthusiasts who will also be reconnecting to their natural rhythm right alongside of you. This is an opportunity to connect to others who see you and support you in being you, and vice versa. We all have our unique thread to contribute to the collective tapestry, and feeling seen and supported plays a big part in being able to step out into our days, feeling empowered to be who we are here to be. And some days that might even mean staying tucked away in our comfy, cozy home, sheltering ourselves and nurturing our own needs. Other days it will be like shining brightly out amongst our community, illuminating the darkness for others. It's so important to feel connected not only to ourselves, but to each other and our surroundings, which is why I'm so passionate about creating space for these connections to be formed, nurtured, and for each involved to thrive and then go out and help others to thrive too. It would be my honour to hold space for you and other lunar cycle enthusiasts for 8 weeks. We'll meet in a beautiful virtual space for an hour and a half each Monday evening via Zoom, kicking off our weeks together, starting on October 16th around the new moon. In that time, I'll guide you through practices that'll help you set yourself up for a month of realising the intention that you set in that first session. Ways of deciding on aligned action to take and realise your intention, and ways to recognise what you need to release that is no longer serving you along the way, as well as what you wish to call in to help with your growth and expansion. We'll repeat this process for the second moon cycle together so that we can create new habits and practices that will assist you through the busiest period of the year come December. Not only will we meet each Monday evening, we'll also remain connected throughout the week via a private Facebook group where we'll share the journey of realising our intentions and offer support and discoveries and experiences along the way that are relevant. Each Monday session will be recorded and shared in that Facebook group on the Tuesday, including the activity set for the week, so if you happen to miss a session, you can stay connected to what was shared. You won't want to miss a session though, because of the magic that will be created with us gathering together, absorbing the energy of each other's presence. You will also receive an e-booklet to refer to between meetups with prompts of what each session will cover. This 8-week commitment is not so much about a commitment to working with me, it's more about a commitment to working with yourself and connecting to your own personal rhythm, or developing one if it's out of sync, through working with the rhythm of the moon cycle. Over the 8 weeks we spend together, I'll also share with you my own personal experiences and learnings that have been so valuable while traversing the most challenging transition period of my life. Now, as a self-employed single mum maintaining a small acreage and tending to the needs of our furry and feathered friends, I don't have time to be sick, nor do I have time to waste. Time is even more precious to me these days, which is why developing ways to create harmony and flow has become my highest priority. Life is too precious to waste on being burnt out, dissatisfied and disappointed. Instead, I choose to use it connecting to the magic of living a beautiful existence through taking inspiration from nature and its rhythms, which is in fact the essence of who we are and how we're designed to live. This small investment you'll make for the experience of this nurturing, supportive space and the insights and information shared along the way is only $222 for the 8 weeks. So join me on this journey of creating flow and living in harmony with the natural cycles of life. Each Monday, 6:30 to 8 p.m. starting October 16th. Bring your own cup of cacao, your favourite herbal tea, or even a glass of wine. There's no judgment here. This is just a place to connect to yourself and to others, as well as the rhythm of nature and life together. Book today. More details on the website at creatorsnest.com.au. You can find the links to these in all of the places, depending on the platform that you're viewing or hearing this on. It'll be in the show notes, the stories, the profile, comments. You'll find it. It'll be everywhere. I look forward to journeying those 2 lunar cycles with you and witnessing you connect to your natural rhythm or develop one through this experience.